Hey everybody, I'm Cinnamon Coney, your art Sherpa, and today I want to show you how you can paint this adorable fluffy white pony in this wonderful yellow field of flowers. We're going to use some fun new colors. We're going to have a really good time. Check the description below for all the materials, the list of the description, and the traceable. On the mic will be John.
Hey guys.
He is going to be making sure that you guys see every part of the action so you can create yourself. So get your paint, get your brushes, come back to the easel right now, and we're going to paint this together. Okay, let's look at the materials we're going to be using in today's project. I have a canvas panel here. This is Artist Loft. I get these in packs. This is an 11 by 14. It's ready to paint on. I don't need to do another thing to it. Over here, I put out my acrylic paint colors. I have parchment. I have portrait pink. I have titanium white. I have raw sienna. I have sap green permanent. I have brilliant yellow green. And I have green gold. I have Hansa yellow medium. I have Hansa yellow light. I have magenta, Paynes gray, and carbon black. And this is going to give me the mix that I need to get this really unusual, bright, and saturated painting together. Let's just jump on in and enjoy these new colors. All right, so I'm going to pick a nice brush that's going to let me paint most of the background fairly easily and quickly. And I think in this particular case, let's get the number 30 short-handled bright from the Ruby Satin line. And I'm going to actually just go in and paint the whole background a bit of a green here. I'm going to mix my green yellow and my green together, and even maybe a little of my sap green. And I'm just going to paint this whole thing green. Green, green, green. What do you think of that, John?
I think that's pretty good.
You think that's pretty good?
Yeah.
So this is going to give us an acrylic ground that we can work with and enjoy. You could have sketched in the pony, but I'm painting with pro paint, so at this stage I'm expecting to be able to paint him in with paint. Could be wrong though. This could be watch me not do that. So I'm just looking at coverage, and I'm actually leaning more into the green gold here. Actually liking that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at that. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Green gold is one of my favorite colors. I usually have it in everybody's line and my watercolors. But this is a good version of that. So I'm super happy about that. The nice little colors up here. And I think that's all that's going to take to really get that in. I'm going to dry that so that the next bit that I do, I can work over the top of that and be real loose and kind of like expressive, which is what I'm hoping to be able to do today. So once I have that in, I'm going to start laying in the sort of blended, soft colors and effects in the background. And that's, you know, little splotches of yellow and some deeper green and all of that. And I'm going to just play this right over the top of this. That's going to come down to about here. So I'm going to get a little of my darker green, which is the sap green. And I might even keep working this nice big brush. We'll see how this goes. And I'm going to just softly layer this up, and you can see that the transparency is letting the green underneath really show through. That's actually good. I kind of want that because we're trying to talk about, you know, this deeper green that these yellow flowers are coming out in. And I'm just letting it glaze and be transparent. I might switch, I think, to one of my little bristly brushes. I'm going to get, this is one of my babies. I love this little baby. This is a number 12 Silverstone. It's just a hog bristle brush round. You can get a lot of different kinds of these. I'm going to mix my greens together here. I'm going to mix my bright green and my sap green. I'm going to get a half step between these two. And I'm going to just softly put in some of this texture that's going to represent these little yummy. I don't think ponies actually eat. These are rapeseed. Doesn't that sound terrible? That's what they are. They are what they make canola oil out of. I always thought they were mustard, but maybe not.
They're very pretty.
Listed as rapeseed. They're
That's
very pretty. I tell you, like, when you're trying to find photographic references and you go to any of the photo sites, like Paint My Photo, photographers are really interesting how they list their references, because they won't be like pony and yellow flowers. They'll be like you know, Shetland in rapeseeds, like, because then no one searches that, guys. I just don't even know what to say.
Pony and tall grass.
Pony and tall grass. I'm gonna just keep adding some of these soft blended little dark spots. I'm not gonna take too long because it's darn hot in the studio. So you've got me motivated to kind of keep moving. My
Yeah.
goal here is to make a nice kind of out of focus bokeh background. That how nice that is. How that blends there. That's a lot about the transparency of the paints and the scruffliness of the brush. The brush is so scruffy that it's really, really enjoying that itself here. Now, while I'm going, I'm going to get a little of my parchment, which is this fabulous kind of crazy off-white. But when I was playing with it, I noticed I could get it into this mix and get that weird kind of, look at that muted color that's so crazy back there. How long would we work with our phthalo green to get that? A while.
Wow.
You gave me the idea for this project, John.
I did.
Yeah, you did.
I feel suddenly
Responsible for everybody's
yes.
experience. I'm going back for the parchment.
Oh
John,
no! What did I cause to happen? What
John
happened?
noticed that sometimes I would spend a lot of time on the palette finding a color, and that's because when you work a limited, consistent palette again and again, you will sometimes not have colors that are easy to get to a muted range or a value range
Oh,
in the painting. I'm going to dip a little water. You want to be careful because these will soften a bunch. I'm going to just keep putting this right here. See, I'm just layering this up.
yep.
But that softness, the way I'm wiggling the stroke, helps it be super soft. Helps it.
Helps it.
Yeah. Sometimes I think I channel my inner brick from the middle,
I
what my daughter says.
don't
And
know.
I can come back the back way and sort of soften this. If you do makeup, you kind of get this, you get this deal. Yeah. Down here, I'm going to put in a bunch of that because there's a bunch of this more muted space down here. And again, we're talking in terms of soft, out of focus spaces. I probably will not keep the front flowers as out of focus as they are in this picture because I'll want to put everything from the pony to myself into focus. We'll have to see like what I feel like I'm going to do artistically once I get there. He's going to be in this space, so I have to do it somewhat, but I don't have to be perfect about it. In a minute, I'm going to loosely sketch where he goes, and that way I'm not investing a ton of time into him. I'm loading up. I flip the brush, I load up. Notice I'm not getting a lot of bristles. That's because a good hog brush should not be shedding all over everything. Layer this up. And it's going to be real different when we play this, especially when we're doing this white pony, when we're playing these two whites on each other, and the gray and the raw sienna. We're going to find some interesting effects. While I'm here, I'm also going to get some of this green gold and my bright green. And you can see these are definitely really unusual colors. I'm going to just kind of tap this, tapping that space, adding this little extra texture here. We're going to be very painterly.
What does that mean?
That means I'm going to show what I'm doing. So when you are trying to be hyper realistic and tight, you try to hide the process by which you create the artwork. But when you're trying to be painterly, you actually strive to show the process.
Hmm.
So I'm just like going to come here and I'm going to wiggle in some of this green, and I can even bring that down a bit. It's fun to bring it down a bit. It gets quite dark up here, so I can actually get right into this and start to think about this dark green that's happening here. Look at us go. Dark green happening there. So hopefully it's interesting to see what these colors are like, because I wonder if you're ever curious at the paint aisle looking at all 36 colors going, but if everything comes from red, yellow, and blue, why do I buy all these colors? This would be why. If if you're curious. This is why. This experience for you as an artist. I'm going to just keep layering that up. I want that to be deep. All the greens, because they're based in yellow, tend to be transparent. Everybody's paint company is a little bit different. And again, you almost have to find like colors that you like, and then you find sources for them you think are amazing. I'm going to add a little deeper green value back here. I'm going to just wiggle. This is like on the little tips of the brush, making sure that we've got little spots of depth. Isn't that fun? I have to be so worried about everything. It gets real bright when the yellow gets in there. And with him, it's going to be so cute. I like that I opened him up with a cutie mark on.
Hmm.
I'm just wiggling on the little edge of this brush. You could use a bright. You could use a fan, guys. There's a lot of brushes that you can use. You just want a brush that you can do this kind of loose scumbling with. I lost that there. Hear that? I just scrape a little hair off there. So your bristle brushes will do this to you a little bit, but you just definitely don't want to not have them. This fun stuff.
I really like the way that this textures.
Yeah, it's a fun texture, and you can be just really loose and crazy about it if you want to. You can come in and get some of the bright green happening here and there. Talking about it because it plays very interestingly against its background. This is a very bright painting. And that's what we're going to make sure that we have. I'm going to rinse this out for a second. And while this is all having a rest in a thing, I'm going to kind of sketch in loosely my pony. I'm going to do that with paint, which is crazy, I know. But I'm wild like that. I'm going to take my parchment and maybe a little of my burnt sienna, and I'm going to, not burnt sienna, this is raw sienna, which looks like yellow ochre to everybody, but isn't. And we're going to sketch his little self into placement. So he's a little bit off center. And he's got, kind of a nice little bomb here. Give him a little pony bomb, like you do. Little withers there. And there's a little belly here. Always respect the pony belly. In the same reverence that you might respect a hobbit belly.
Hmm.
Same thing. I'm going to curve the arc of the top of the neck here. And remember, we're going to have a traceable. So if this is not where you're at in your art journey, you're not like freehanding your horses in like all loosely onto your canvas, don't panic. That's totally what the traceable is for, and it's not cheating. It's not. But if you're wanting to see how to break one in, you can do this right here. I'm going to add some neck there that we would see. And then I'm going to go ahead and put in some of the face. And I have to, the thing that's going to be the struggle for me is getting the same sort of sizing into the space as what's in the photograph, because we're resizing from the photograph. Photograph isn't an aspect ratio necessarily to an 11 by 14. So when you're doing a horse's head, though, what you're talking about is this sort of shape that you're seeing right here. Especially if you're not doing warm-blooded horses. You may be like, oh no, but your nose is showing more than other things. I can foreshorten that. And you come here. When I'm sketching with paint and I want to erase, this is what I do. I go, you move. See how I just change the lines?
Yeah.
That's how I do that. And it works really well for me. I like it a lot. And you just keep sketching it all out. Now, the front of the nose is kind of like, grab some of this parchment, little space that we've got. So I'll put some of that in just to think about that. And then if the eyes here come across there and go, oh, I need another eye, so I can grab, oh, let's get a little Paynes gray. Paynes gray is just one of my very favorite little colors. So that'll let me sketch that in right there. And I'm going to just keep playing with this until I get things laid out the way I'm feeling like he's laid in. Because I really want to be able to exaggerate the mane, and I really want to be able to exaggerate him. While we're having a little rest here, I'm going to come and just put some little bases for him in. I'll get my little Paynes gray into it. I'm going to just notice how very loose I am with the paint. That's because I know I'm going to be moving things. I might have to change things, his positioning. And so what I'm doing now is saying, hey, roughly, I think there's an object right here. Also, by painting him this way later when I come to add more layers, it'll be easier. Using, like, I get asked how to paint a lot of white furred animals too, like a lot. But that was one of the other things that attracted me to this, was being able to answer some of those questions about how do we paint an animal that's white on white fur.
The white fur.
Yep. How do we do it? Very fun to make him fat. I will not miss an opportunity for that. Now, I'm going to bring some of this white down. That way, as I bring plants up, it can peek through. I can actually be very, very relaxed about it. I'm going to get a little of my Paynes gray and a little of my raw sienna, a series of colors you probably haven't mixed together but are crazy lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're soft and deserty. They're good to have in the paint box. Good to have in the paint box. I'm just putting this little dark value here that I know I'm going to put that tail in. You can kind of see it going in, can't you?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. Maybe put a little shadow under here, back behind the neck. I'm just blocking in a little bit of his basic space. So that later I can paint him in easily. I'll just keep that here for a second, and then let's go. What do you have? He has kind of like this, that same dun inside the ear. So when you're trying to do a horse, remember that the ear is going to come up from that jawline. Sometimes people don't know that. That's how you set the ear. Like humans, horses have a little place that they set things. And then I'm going to just come across the head and peek one out right there. Now it's got his little devilly horns, which are going to be his ears, but it'll be grateful for him later. Down the tail, I'm going to add a little of this darker value. Because painting him is super fun. This actually, I've been waiting to paint, and when I'm stressed painting stuff like this is what resets me. Now, I feel like, and we're going to find out if it's a mistake, but I feel like a fan would be fun. I have my fans. If you have like any of the fans, I know a bunch of you guys. Actually, I know in celebration of a bunch of you guys getting the fans today, I think I have all 6s and I've got a 4. I'll use my fans, but you could use any fan. You would use a hog bristle or my kind because this is heavy body paint. You need to have enough, color and things to be able to enjoy that. I'm going to take a little of the yellow and my green gold, maybe even a little of my white so I can set it and see it. And I'm going to just use the fan. I'm going to wiggle back and forth. I'm wiggling. I'm going to set some spots of flowers. What's nice about a fan is not only does it leave out a nice randomized, very natural looking space, but you can soften with it. It's a good blender too. I always forget, this is a really good blender. I can start putting in and laying in those blocks and those shapes early on. And then if I need to change, like, be like right here, I can go into the corner of the bristles. See, it helps me be a random planter. Like that. Like come here. Still got a little bit of the green gold on here. I'm going to just start to pop in maybe a little of the yellow. And this is nice because it leaves a lot of the green behind. So what's going to give this the softness, besides the fact that I can use the fan. Look how I'm using the fan. I go in and I sort of wiggle out. Let's keep doing that because I think if you guys understood that that was happening, that would be really fun for you. I'm going to go in here. Oh, I made a nice regular shape. And then I can just use the fan itself to soften that shape. We'll take this right into our pony. You can just move your fan around. See how the fan can come in and create some really interesting space. I'm kind of curious what happens if I magenta into this. Oh, look at that gorge color. Oh, I'm liking it. And that will actually
That's
pull some
cool.
space out here too. Anytime you get the orange into it, it's going to really help pop everything. You don't want to be too orange, but you want to have some warmth into it so it pops against the green. And look at this. See, I've got it pressed in. It's fairly close and firm to the canvas, and then I can just wiggle it. And not only do these little suckers make waterfalls, but they make little distant flower patches. Like you do.
Like you do, maybe.
Like I do, like we all do. That's the whole point of the show is we all do these. I'm going to just keep popping out this yellow. And again, I really thought about doing the CAD, but we're always painting with CAD. You're welcome to do the CAD. CAD's a powerful thing. So all I'm doing is just creating little spots. And remember, I can come back with this fan because of how they are and just even sort of tap out what feels like individual flowers. If I go to the corner and come in, wiggle it in. The important thing to remember is I saw a kid, somebody shared a video with me who a kid was painting with his fingernail.
That's kind of cool.
Crazy good artist with his fingernail. And I just thought to myself, see, now that proves that the brush is awesome and it's fun, but it's not where the art comes from.
The brush is in the hand of the wielder.
That's right. You still got to, it's like being an oleanders. You got to still get matched to your wand, right?
Mm-hmm.
All about you and that relationship. I'm just tapping this. See, I'm just tapping this, just creating these little. But I'm not trying to do that obvious fan thing, but you could. You were like, oh, that would really make me happy. You could totally do that. Now, if I get into my white and get into my yellow, some crazy stuff starts to happen. It will start to pop more. Look at that. I'm just tapping that around, popping some of those yellows. Let's look back at it. Is it starting to brighten up? A little bit. Now I can put some more out. This is the yellow medium azo. These are not, like the cadmium is a very high expense paint. These are not as high of an expense paint as that. So I can come and get a little white in there and get into my yellow. The opacity of the white and the value change will get real stunning here, even before I start adding the yellow light. I'm just gonna I can tap the edge of the brush to make individual little flowers, and I can wiggle, wiggle, wiggle back and forth. That. Need some yellow over here. Come right there on the edge of my brush and talk about those little bits of flower. The fan. I'm a fan of the fan. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to get my yellow light and some of my titanium white. I'm going to make some very light color. Let's see how we can do. Tap that in. A little more yellow into it. Lots of value changes. Distant flowers to be back there. Just rubbing this through here. That. Rub from here down through there. We're just lightening this up. I'm going to get a little of the two yellows mixed together. I'm going to just keep playing with that space. Planting flowers. Plant some bright yellows right there, huh? Celebrating. Playing. So when we feel like we've created some of that space, I feel like we've created some. I might come back and get a little of my green gold here and add a little white to it. It makes a very bright green. Tap some of that through this space right here. Just for fun. Some green back in there. I feel like it's very loose and expressive and fun. Because really I came for the pony. Now I'm going to start working my pony again. He would be the next thing, and then we can put our little stuff all here in a layer. So let's go into the nose. I'm going to get my portrait pink, and I might even get a little of this magenta into this brush and just pink it up a smidge. Kind of a fun space. And let's really, really do this now. Come across the top and bring it up the horse. And down the front. Just a little more of that. Here on the outside. Really sort of fun to see this color. Paint. There's a cup to the lower part of their face. I rather like that cup. Might just treat myself to a little bit of pink here, but I'll see if I like it later. I don't know if I like it later, John. I don't know if I will. I'm going to put a little bit of the Paynes gray. I have too much water in my brush, so I'm going to wipe it off. I'm going to get a little bit of the Paynes gray. I'm going to go ahead and get the parchment into it, the pink there. I'm going to start getting the little nose here. Touching a little brush, talk about the little nose there. I might start talking about the little nose there. Come here and shade that. Maybe shade that just a bit above the, still shading that. I'm going to get a little of my white my parchment color together. Just touch the top of that. Then I'm gonna get a little white parchment color together. I've got a number 4 Cambridge right here. John usually gets me if I forget to say what it is. I think he's doing the thing where he's watching again.
Well, I just sort of yes, I was.
That's
watching.
all that happens. Is sometimes it's he's just watching.
It's true. I kind of get the pan and just tension like everybody else. I get. I'm watching the cameras and kind of going back and forth and enjoying it. So
it's fun stuff. I'm gonna switch to a cleaner brush as much as I love my scumbly little brushes. I want a smaller, cleaner brush for this nose, so I'm actually going to get myself a number 2 Ruby Satin. I'm going to just come right here. I might need my glasses. That's what's wrong. Can't see. Girlfriend can't see. So horses are kind of like this little space that I really love to live in. I'm going to come and make a little shadow here. Because in nostrils, there tends to be a bit of a curve. And I'm going to bring this down into the mouth. And we'll say that there's a nice little cupping here. Bring that jaw up and around. It's fun to paint horses. I'm going to bring this gray in. A little bit of the gray, a little bit of the sienna like we did earlier. That's really a fabulous color too, because it's so muted and it's so from what you might expect. Pull that under here. I'm just shading out the skull structure under everything. And then when we come back over it with the lighter colors, it can be really nice. Don't want any white in this initially. I'm just trying to bring the eye shape back here. Pop this in. Get that ear shape tapped in pretty nicely. Because again, we want some things that we do loose and some things that are maybe a little more considered, or this nostril could be a little bit thinner and finer coming up there. Working the little mouth space. You gonna mute?
I'm going to move your picture-in-picture.
Oh, okay.
Because I know you're starting to work in that corner.
Yeah. I'm going to come right here and I'm going to add a little highlight here to the nose. Definitely one right here, which I'll exaggerate.
You can probably blow it up over there a little bit too.
Oops, a little big on that side, but I want a little highlight over there. Or you get really big, you just wipe your brush off and come back in. Before the paint's dry, you can always pretty easily trim it up. Bring this light color. Now I'm going to fix that nose shape over there, doing what I did earlier, which is just to get my green gold. And trim that in. Along the face. Check that out. I'm going to mix a little of the parchment color and the sienna. I'll go ahead and add a little shadow here. It's a little bit there, but it's just not as bright as it could be. Even inside this ear, I love that there's going to be this sort of crazy mane. We're going to have such a crazy hair, don't care kind of moment. I'm going to get my parchment. I'm going to tip it with just a little bit of the gray. I'm going to come in here. Start talking there. Maybe even create a little highlight at the tip of this ear and the tip of that ear. Keep going, get a little pink in there, but it's mixed into where the parchment and the sienna is. See? I'm going to just make sure that this space isn't like a big black line as much as that. That's lovely. Now that we have some of this small space done, we can get back into our scruffly brush, and then we'll finish out with a detail brush. So we'll just really play between these two things.
Now, what makes for a scruffly brush?
So my Cambridge, this is the Cambridge, is a mix of bristles and synthetic filaments. I made you switch that. And I really love it because it doesn't over soften. So it's like hog bristles and synthetic filaments, and it makes it a nice brush for acrylic.
See,
I'm going to get a little...
It's layered.
I hear some sneezes from the Twix.
Oh, she's coming over here getting pets. She's all like, pet me, pet me.
They do. They love that. All right. I'm putting a little bit of the raw sienna into our parchment because we're going to build the white up in time.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't want to do it all in one layer. I'm going to come around this eye and very lightly and dry brush, letting a lot of that gray and color show through, even down here. Letting a lot of it show through. Bring this up here, between the ears. And I mean, I'm not going to get too detailed because really, frankly, we're going to have a bunch of mane here. So I just want enough of the shape of this that when I go put the mane in, we're good. We're going to have to build up some mane space. Now, as I'm going, I'm going to get more into my titanium white. I'll take the parchment and I'll mix these up. I'm going to say up here at the top of the head, we're going to definitely have more of a highlight because there's sunlight. Just blend this softly, softly down and add some there. I'm going to come up. I love this backspace, but I'm going to get a little bit of my burnt sienna and even a little of my Paynes gray into it. I'm going to start talking a little bit about the belly. There's the shoulders. Now, when I want to talk about a bright spot that I can come in with the white, which will almost make it feel like highlighted. Just bringing that right there. Back in that. Fade that out. I don't want to lose all my values and my shadows where I need them, but I can still soften them. See how I'm softening them?
I see them softening.
They are softening. That's what I'm doing. I'm just building up these layers.
And which brush is that?
This is still my nice little Cambridge. I'm going to be like reshaping this eye and stuff, guys, into more of like that horse shape, but I just got to get some values and stuff in. So if I want to come in here, I can get the gray into this. Making sure that the space around the eye has that light gray value. You can see that. Here and even under in that space. I'm just building this little baby up. And I love that there's a little space that's sort of like the parchment. I'm going to just use the texture of this brush to even talk about the inside of the ear, which is really fun. And let's go full parchment with just a little bit of the burnt sienna, and we're going to come on the back of the bum here. Just pulling this color down. We're we're real close to done. You might not know we are, but we are. Yeah.
Really? That's
when he comes
crazy.
together, it's going to be so fast. You're going to be like, where'd the horse come from? I'm just getting those layers built up. So that's a nice little space, isn't it? That's sort of like off. He's already popping. There's, he's coming in, doing his little thing. Now I could kind of reshape his back, so I'm going to take a little of my white here, and I'm going to come behind the bum. Just make sure that's a little defined. Get a little bit of the white here. And let's add some highlight. Not too many. Because we're wanting to talk about the shape of his rump. So I'm going to add a little white right here. Now, what's going to be real fun is I'm going to take a little of the Paynes gray and the burnt sienna. I haven't rinsed my brush, so there's a little white in there. And I'm going to get that dun color we were oohing and ahhing about. Put it here. And we're going to exaggerate a little bit of some stuff. Not that much, though, because he's actually pretty darn fluffy. I don't know if y'all can see this. It's a really fluffy little pony.
Aren't all Shetlands a little fuzzy?
They are. Also the devil, but yeah. They're smart little creatures. I had a Shetland named Whiskey. He was the smartest member of our family. Even my dad will admit to that. So I'm just going to do these sort of little motions of his mane. I'm going to add a little more motion to his mane. So that he feels just a little more fluffier. Just a little more than nature, if that
makes sense. I see, yeah.
Move the hair forward, leaving some of the So that's that sort of low value that'll let us build up a lot of his little hair. Make him a happy little fellow. I am not putting halter on him because he is wild and free. And he wants it that way. I'm going to take a little of my white and my raw sienna, and I'm going to come to the back of the tail.
Bah, ram you. No halter on you.
Is that what it's going to be? A little fluff here. You can see I'm using the brush to just add a little fluff. And I'm letting a lot of the dark shine through. And while this is all having a little bit of a dry, I'm going to rinse out really, really well. And you can get a little of your, your yellow and, your dark green. Mix these together. So this is my yellow medium, and this is my sap green. I'm going to come here and talk about plantings. And if you want to even get into your Paynes gray, get in there and darken it up. Because we have to show some plants that are right here. Notice I'm just making very rough strokes. How are we all feeling about this? We haven't talked to the community that much today, so how is everyone feeling about this?
Well, doing pretty good here. We're recording this one.
That's true. We are recording this one.
So I guess we're gonna see when we read.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good because we're gonna see how they're doing when we read the comments.
Ooh, I'm gonna get some comments on this one.
I don't know. I really like this one. I've liked how the little ponies come together, and the little grasses.
Yeah, we just want to create some little space. Like these aren't fine lines; these aren't delicate lines. I'm just having some fun with this. I'm going to come here and I'm going to get just the yellow, maybe a little bit of that magenta into it to get that initial orange that we had. I'm going to just tap it out like this. Just talking more not about each individual flower, but just an overall shape of plant. There we go. The overall shape of plant. Quite warm. And the warmth of it pulls it towards us. If we cool things down, it pushes it back. If we warm them, it comes forward.
Now, I'm really enjoying how snuggle-worthy this little pony's turning out.
He's super snuggly.
Yes.
Ponies should always be super snuggly.
I can see this be very popular with little brushes.
I think so. Now, I've got a good painting coming up for kids. That's Horses Again, which is going to be a horse in a barn. But if this is just one of those ones where, it covers what we really all want to be painting about horses, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So letting that warm yellow have its little space.
I have it on pretty good authority that 9-year-olds are definitely into fluffy, fuzzy ponies.
No.
And there may be some 39-year-olds too.
We're all 9-year-old girls in our hearts. I'm going to just continue to put this here like this is. It rinse out real well. And a couple things I'm going to do. I'm going to take a little bit of my white here, and I'm going to get a smidge of this yellow light into it. See how we're doing?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to play with some stuff. We're going to come in, add to the top of the tail a little bit. See how that's just popping?
Oh, yeah. I really like, man, you were right. That just sort of...
Horse happens.
The horse just happened. Man.
This is a horse happens painting.
And the pony appeared.
I'm adding some just thickly applied pure white. Thickly applied pure white. I'm doing this a lot in the style you'll see daily painters work in, which is a little bit looser. It's a little, again, more painterly. It took me a long time to get here. Sometimes I think it's like the hardest. I'm going to get a little more of that yellow.
Now I'm going to
put a little bit right here above that part of the nose. Here.
Yeah, can I ask you a question? I maybe
add a little bit of that yellow above the eye.
I've never understood, why do you assemble the layers the way that you do? Like, because you started with an undercoating of really dark colors, and now you're doing these really light colors.
Because what's underneath kind of shows through, and what happens is that it's like each layer builds up and strengthens what's happening above it. So you get a lot of bang for your buck, having it kind of reveal that way.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I know, I dig it. I just, it's a...
And it's fun stuff.
Yeah, no, that explains why you work in like the different colors as you come up.
I'm gonna get into my parchment now.
Now that's called an underpainting, right?
Yeah. Well, we have underpaintings and layers, and they build up, and as we're going, this is the next layer, the main, which is just the parchment, and it's going to let some of that dark color show underneath, which is going to make him seem shaggier.
And that dark part is that underpainting.
And that dark part is the underpainting, because everything has shadow, right?
Right. Okay.
You got to make sure you got the shadow. And so we're going to make sure that we're right here is mane, again, is fluffy. He should be fluffy. He's a very fluffy, fluffy little fellow. Or she is. I don't know. I haven't had a conversation. But I feel there's an element of the boy to me for this pony. I just like to tell stories in my head about what's happening in my art with the characters that are there. If you lose any of your shadows, you can always come back with just a little bit of that and make sure that you have the values you need where you need them. Oh, so fluffy. I feel like that reflection went a little low, so I'm going to grab a little bit of that color I just mixed. Push that back. Ah, isn't that better?
Yeah.
Now, while all that's having a dry, two places I can go. I can work the front of my painting and then finish with the eye, which is what I think I'm going to do. And to do that, I think I'm going to go bigger. I'm going to get my brush bigger. I'm going to work a little bigger. I may hit the tops and values of these just somewhat for fun, trying to create some hard edges. And so I'm going to take this brush. I'm going to just tap it and catch the tops of that. How you doing? Now they're starting to be yellow and be there. Traditionally, in my paintings, if you paint with me for a while, you know I tend to like to use dye to gray and darken my yellows. But in this particular case, I've really gone into the oranges and the green. So I'm just keeping it brighter than you might expect me to be in my painting. You can always kind of like find little spots back here too. Also add a little bit of breaking up the shape and spaces with this very thick application of paint. This is an impasto application of paint. I can come into my white here, yellow, by adding a little bit of white to it. This is one of my favorite things. I can create this sort of little highlight on the clusters of flowers. So what I'm really doing is a grayscale paint, but with yellow and a pony. And who can tell? I have so many horses on my channel. Problem.
You do. You have a lot of ponies.
I do have a lot of horses. They're fun to paint. I'm just putting that right there. Get a little more of the yellow and white. Let's see how that's looking. All right, so we've got those nice little clusters.
Yeah. Those are looking really nice.
Aren't those fun?
Yeah.
All right, I have to decide how I want to do it. I'm going to go with my bigger bright. And, I might, again, deepen up this area. The white's now there, but we're layering it a little bit, aren't we? I'm being very loose. This is a dry brush. And the reason that I'm doing this is I am deepening that value.
That foreground grass value.
Yeah, so it's dark and rich, and we feel like we're closer to it.
And this'll
exaggerating it.
This'll make those little plants in the foreground look more rich.
It should definitely do a lot for that. I'm going to get right into my yellow here and this green together. They make actually quite a bright color. I'm going to just come to the top of this. I'm creating some of those values that you might expect, huh?
Yeah.
But we're not really focusing these front ones that much. Those are our more focused flowers. And we'll see if we can play with that focus. Wish us luck. Grabbing that green gold and just making sure. Loose marks are hard to deal with. There's a lot of this, like, look, wiggle, 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 wiggle the brush. Leave those dark values. I've left dark values through here. I've left all kinds of interesting sets here. You can soften it like this, and then that does a lot, doesn't it? For it to feel kind of distant. And I can always put out some more green.
It's looking really good.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Almost done.
Really?
Yep.
Wow, it's coming together. That little pony's all just like, I'm ready to run.
Yep. Try to put a saddle on me.
I'm gone, man.
Gone. I feel the wind in my hair. And it's just good to, every once in a while, take a minute and evaluate what you have going on. Darken. Remember, you can always play with these things as you're going. Oh, that created some nice space, didn't it? Now, since this is having a dry, I can take advantage of this time. I can dry it, or I can take advantage of this time and I can get a small detail brush in my mister bottle, mix my black and my gray. Now, one of the things I noticed is that the parchment kind of color of his eye, I'm going to take a little of this pink into my parchment and then into my off-white. I'm just trying to create this very, like, I'm using my mister to add water to the paint to improve its flow this late in the painting. I could put out fresh, but this is a way to be able to stay active and keep going. I'm going to come right here. I'm definitely going to start painting out the detail of this little fellow. Let's get some of that Paynes gray. Definitely don't want any of the white in there. We need to have some dark values happening. A little tear duct here. Bring this down a bit. Under here a bit. I'm just tapping in a little of this gray. Coloring around. I have the little kind of darker space around the eye. I'm going to bring this much larger. I kind of carved that the wrong way. So to fix that, I'll come back into this. And what I mean is that this should be a little more angled. There we go. Towards that direction. So while that's having a dry, actually I'm going to get everything a dry so I can get the next layers in pretty easily. Let's have a little dry, and then we can finish him out. All right. I'm going to take a little of my white. I'm going to load it up on this number 4 Cambridge. I'll find the tops of some of my hair. And I'm going to lay some in, kind of on the edge of my brush. Play with it. We're going to go with the can't be too shaggy policy.
Never too much fuzzy.
Have it. You can see that next layer of white really pops that mane. If you get the light yellow into it, oh, just next level. It just makes it feel like some of the hair got hit by the sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
A little more. There we go. That's a very shaggy little fellow.
That is a very shaggy.
Be as shaggy as you want to be, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to get my yellow onto my brush. Maybe a smidge. And I mean just a smidge of the magenta. Just being careful with it. It's just so powerful. I'm going to just go ahead and start doing out of focus little areas here. Bright yellow. I'll just tap where I feel like there's maybe like flowers in front of him. Just wiggle, 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 wiggle the brush. It can be really challenging to paint loosely, but once you get this sort of painterly sense of things, it's super rewarding because it lets you just be in the important part of the painting for you. So like whatever is really relevant to you, whatever's super critical to you, you get to do. This is your space. Well, where'd that tube go? I don't know.
Tube down.
Tube down.
What was that you just picked up there?
Little magenta.
Little magenta.
Little magenta. Just trying to add that warmth and yellow. I'm just wiggling it, just trying to create that field where it's sort of out of focus and bits of it are more in focus. Also, I feel like this will help the areas that, that we have that are in focus. I'm letting a lot of that green show through. And this yellow goes way down into here, doesn't it?
It does.
We can really play with that and talk about those areas as being very yellow. Like this little fellow has walked into the mother of all fields of flowers.
Mm-hmm.
The other less smart horses are somewhere grazing, somewhere less desirable. This bright little friend, he's found it. And you can see that nice transparency of the way that the yellow can go over the tail. It creates dimensionality, doesn't it?
It really does.
Crazy how it works. Sometimes it seems when it's starting out, you're like, there's no plan. But then you're like, there's a lot of plan. Loading a lot of that up. Getting a lot of that white into there. Finding a little more yellow. I mean, I gotta find these little spots. Just wiggling the brush, creating these little off-focus little spots of yellow. Building it up. Not too much white. Just allow it to come in. Layer, layer, layer. 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 Smidge white. Just painting somebody super happy.
Super happy.
Super happy. I just grabbed some of this yellow, light yellow. That happened. So I will. Smidge of the white. How's that looking? Let's look at that and that. See, isn't that nice and out of focus and out of view a little bit? So I'm going to load up a little of my yellow from here, and a little of my yellow from here, and a good amount of my white to get this very, very light color. My goal here is to make some fields of this. What I'm doing is I'm talking about the tops of things, just a few of them. And I'm just moving and wiggling the brush around. Just pulling that up. Up a little bit of the individuals there. To exaggerate this a little bit, I may get some of this yellow on the corner of my brush. And showcase the hard lines of just a couple of the forward-facing flowers, if you can see what I'm doing. Just on the corner. Just showcase that a little bit of dimensionality.
They
And
really
even
are
in
coming
here, I
together.
might do some of that. Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
I really like that. I'm going to take the time to do more of that because I'm liking that so much. Oh,
Ooh, Sherpa down.
Sherpa back. Sherpa drops paint. This is using a lot of yellow, but that's not unusual for yellow. But I just think that the tapping of this, I'm just really liking those little hard, high-pointed paint edges. And that's one of the things that heavy body paint gives us is the ability to do this kind of work, this impasto work. For that. And I think to be fully satisfied with this piece, we're going to need to have that. And I'm just talking about different little clusters in this little field of space that have the bright little yellow flowers. You might have. I'm tapping this brush, this number 8 Cambridge. You could do a number 8 bright, anything. Remember the magic of the brush. I mean, it is nice to have a tool that doesn't break. Is good, for sure, and reliable and high quality and made for heavy body paint. Now we're just tapping those little textures and they create that sense of flowers.
Oh,
now
yeah.
he's just erupted into flowers, hasn't he?
He really
just
has.
Yellow on yellow. This is the most yellow painting anybody ever painted. Except for that one at the museum where we always go. All right, now I got to finish out his eye. I'm going to dip my number 1 detail into water and I'm going to pull out a little of the Paynes gray. I'm going to come here and I'm going to make a nice hard line. I'm going to make sure that his eye. That. Now, on him, I'm going to get a little bit into, you don't have to have the, I always like to keep this around because you just never know if you need this deep black, even in a small space. And I'm going to come right under here. It's much darker than the Paynes gray. Much, much. Once you have that, rinse your brush out pretty well. I want you to get just a little bit of your white I'm gonna actually need to get a new detail brush. It's very tough sometimes to get all the pigment out of a detail. I get a little bit of this white. I'm gonna put it right here into this eye. I'm gonna get a little of my gray right here with my white. I'm gonna come right here. And underneath this top, just the softest shade, lighter reflection. Swirl out, get some white. But again, I won't be pure white on the eye. I'm gonna get my Sienna on here, the raw Sienna, and a little of the white. This is not dissimilar to what we did with the mane. Come here, and you're going to just very gently underneath this black line here.
That's awesome.
Big deal to give him little lashes.
Oh, he just came together.
Just come together when they come together. And then I'm going to wipe off my brush, but not really rinse it. I'm going to get some of this white, pure white on here. Now tap that. And that is how you paint a soft little white pony in a yellow field of flowers.
That's pretty awesome.
I feel like we should sign it.
Yep.
I'm going to use my Paynes gray. It's going to look really nice against the yellow over here. Thank you for letting us do this over here. I appreciate it. Okay. Now, I want you to be good to yourself and be forgiving of yourself during a painting. Don't make perfection a burden that you place on yourself. Take this time and just enjoy your creative journey and recognize that every painting is a building block on the one before, and we grow over time. Artists are grown and they bloom. They're not just instantly created in some weird artist factory in the middle of the country. Also, be good to each other, say kind words, and be compassionate as much as you can in your life. And I want to see you at the easel really soon. Bye-bye.